For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Really sorry, I know it's been a while. Just relocated. I'm now in British Columbia, Canada, and the process was long, was kind of stressful, but now I'm back. I've really settled in my new location, so I'm back to doing tutorials, doing project breakdowns. And in this particular video, we are going to be looking at the project that I did, a personal project of mine, Memorize Me project. So this particular one, and I'll show you how I get to achieve this, designing in After Effects and also doing the modeling in Cinema4D, doing a little bit of 2D and 3D. You guys will get to see all of that. Please, if you have any question, anything about this at all, feel free to comment in the comment section. And of course, if you are new to my channel, make sure you do subscribe. Also like and then share with any other person that this might be useful for. So just a quick one, the project file is actually available in the link in the description, and you can get it. If you do get it, you'll be supporting me, producing these kind of videos. So make sure you do check it out. So let's get back into the video. All right, so I'll be taking this scene by scene, and this is actually the scene one. This is the very first scene, and all of this was done in the 3D parts. Of course, it was done in Cinema4D. So let's go straight to Cinema4D. And as you can see, if I play this is what I have. Just a simple camera panning, and that's all I have here. And if you look through everything I used to make up for this, let me start with the notebook. So let me solo that out. This is what I use for base of the notebook, as you can see. So it's just a simple cube that I changed the size on X, Y, Z axis. And then I have another plane. So this plane, I actually have a cloner where I have this ring that I created for these holes, and I used the bool function or generator to actually minus the hole from this particular plane, and that's what you can see here. If you want to know how this was really done, I would advise you get the project file so you can actually dissect it some more. And then I have these rings. So these rings are for the holes that I created. That makes the entire notebook. And of course I have a plane. So the plane, that's just the floor basically. Yeah, you might be wondering, there's no text, you can't see the text here, and I'll show you what I did in a bit. So but let me also show you the camera. So this is the camera. So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see the direction of the camera. And if I go to the camera settings, this is what I use. I use the portrait lens and then 35mm photo sensor size as well. So that's basically all I use. And then I just do a simple animation. So I actually put it in a null, and the null has simple position animation. So as you can see that it has simple position animation. So it's just panning from left to right, from the top left. Let me drag this down so you guys can see it clearly, from the top left to down. That's basically all I did for this particular scene. Now I get to control the camera. So I didn't animate the camera at all, only animated the null. Then for the text, so let me go back to the camera. For the text, so because I know that I don't want to really use the text in Cinema4D, I wanted to use it in After Effects, but yet I needed to make sure that it's following the camera, it's tracking the camera. So I created a null. So this is the very first null that I created. You can see that that's above, and that is where I have this for I know, right? And then I have one for the plan as well. So if I go back to Cinema4D, I have another one, text 2. So that one is directly on the notebook. Practically what I did was to add a compositing function. So if you want to do this, you just right click, you go to render tags and click on compositing, or rather you click on external compositing. So let's say for instance I want to make this notebook, make sure that it's reflecting After Effects. I'll just right click, go to render tags and click on external compositing, and I'll go there. I can change the color, I can make sure it's at the center. Every other thing seems to be fine. That's basically what I did for scene 1. But then this was actually rendered in Octane. So let me show you how that looks like. This is my Octane extension here or plugin here. If I play this, you can see that it's moving along as well. And there are some things I actually did to make sure I can get this kind of result. So if I go to my materials, you can see that I have some diffuse paper, rubber, just to make sure that this looks really real. So I actually have some paper texture that I use from Grayscale Gorilla extension hub. They actually have some really cool materials, and that's what I drag in here. And then for the floor was just simple diffuse material that I used. So let me check. So I actually experimented with a lot. So let me just delete this first two. If I click on this, you can see it's just a simple diffuse material. I think the color wasn't exactly white. So that's basically all I did. It was just a simple diffuse material. Like I said, you can always get the project file to look through this. Then for the lighting, I use the Octane daylight, and that is practically what I use to get this really cool lighting, right? So if I click on this, let me see if I move it out, maybe I can see the direction of the light, something. Yeah, so so it's showing here in this viewport. So this is the lighting. So from here I can change whatever direction of the light that I want. So you can see this is giving me another different kind of shade. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So this is giving me another different kind of lighting that I want. So I didn't really bother to use area light or anything like that. So this is practically all I use. Let me just undo all of that. And that's practically how I get to achieve this first scene. I'm going to show you how I composited all of that in here, but I just want to show you the Cinema4D aspect first before we go straight to that. So let's go to scene 2 now. All right, so this is scene 2. You can see it might seem a lot, but honestly they're actually quite simple stuff. So let me try and solo them. Let me see if this can be soloed out. Okay, I have to click on this. So first, the floor. Practically what I did here is quite simple. So if I select this, I have a planar. So let me uncheck this camera first. Right, first I have this normal floor, which is really pretty straight, right? Then I have this one. For this one, I just created a plane and I added a displacer to it, and I used noise shading, and I selected this. I tweaked it a little bit, and for instance, if I change the seed now, you can see that to give me different type of shading that I want. This is practically what I did to have that not so smooth floor basically. But I now select these two, it will give me this combination because I just don't want the floor to be really smooth. So that's it for the floor. Then for the car, this car I didn't model it, I didn't do anything with it. So I think the Cinema4D asset, so I can come here and just search for a car. So you can see different cars, right? All sort of cars that you can see. So I actually drag and drop the car here, and that's practically all I used. Same with the buildings. All this building, I didn't do anything with it. Just all I did was to just have some random effectors and put some in some cloners. So let me also click here and click on buildings. So you can see we have different kind of buildings, cities, skyscraper, really quite interesting. So, and that's practically all I did. So I brought them all in here, and I used cloner and some effectors to push them apart and to randomize them. Basically, that's all I did. If you want me to show you how I get to do this like pretty well, accurately, let me know in the comment section, and then maybe I'll do a tutorial for that on the side, right? So that's basically how I get to achieve all of this, right? Just one or two buildings, put them in cloners, then use the push apart to create a space in between them. So without the push apart, this is what I have. With the push apart, this is what I have. Without randomize, this is what I have. With the randomize, this is what I have. So I just clone them to different, like trying to form a city basically. So that's basically all I did for the buildings. Then for the landscape, this is practically what I did. These are actually landscape, right? So if you go to your primitive here, you can actually create landscape. So this is what I click on, and then basically I just tweaked the settings. Let me just uncheck this and bring this to the center. So basically I just tweaked the settings, bring it really low. I think I tweaked the height. I think that's what I tweaked the most. Let me see this scale. There's a scale, there's the height as well. Let me see, where's the height. So practically that's all I did to form this landscape. Then we now have trees. if you see all of this, so I actually use this extension Forester. Forester is here, so from here I can actually create trees, and with this by default this is the kind of tree you will get. But then I can go to Forester, so this is just an example, and then I can now click on the tree library. So click on tree library, and then I can select any kind of tree that I want. So it's really good tool. I advise you explore this. So that's basically what I did. So I just brought in here and then have different kind of trees, multi-flower trees. So it's not just trees you can bring in flowers, so which is really cool. So if I zoom into this, you can see what I have here, right? Really interesting stuff. Then I also have some cutouts, or will I say flat 2D trees that I've actually made in the past, so I just brought them in for this particular project. Also kind of like put them all together. So I have this sphere that I put in here, put in cloner, randomize it, put all of this to just to create that city thing. So if I uncheck this, and then I just let me hide all of this so you guys can see practically everything else. So basically this is everything that I created, right? And if I activate the floor, you can see how that combines really well with it. And then of course I have my text, I have my car, I have all of this. So basically this is how I get to just set all of this up. It looks quite interesting. I did a simple car animation, so you notice that it is moving, and that's how it went. Then talking about camera, if this is the camera that I used, right? Practically what I did, just very similar to what I did at first. Let me try and drag this up. You can see I make sure this comes down, and again if you check the curves, which is what is really driving that animation. Let me make sure that this is up. You will notice that this is very fast at the beginning, right? And then slows down towards this, and then I actually have to make use of my curve really well. So this is the X curve, Y curve, and the Z curve. So it's mostly the X and Z curve that I make use of. Practically, because I know that I was going to transition into the next scene, that's why I'm making sure it's panning to the right for the next scene. That's practically all I did here. So let's move on to, okay, let's talk about the lighting. Of course, same thing, the daylight, that's practically what I use. So let me open Octane for this. All right, so this is the Octane part of it. And then if I go to the camera, there's some, on the camera tag, actually have thin lens on it. So if I go to thin lens and go to the depth of field, you can see that I've actually made some tweak here. The depth of field, you can see that it's actually, some places are actually blurred out, like this and this. So it's the thin lens that enabled that functionality. And then I was actually exploring different kind of light here, but this is one I end up going for. It's still the same daylight. So let me uncheck this and zoom out. If I click on this and R for rotation, and then let me just play around with this. You can see different kind of lighting option that I can get from this. Right, so let me just undo all of that. Practically, that's all I did. And of course, the materials, they're mostly diffuse materials. So if I go to the car, for instance, it's actually a diffuse material. The buildings, it's actually just white diffuse material. There's nothing more to it. In short, it's just color and reflectance. That's practically all I did. In short, I think they are even normal materials. They're not even Octane materials, even though I rendered this in Octane because I just love the way it looks even without me using Octane materials. So basically that's practically all I did. But I think for the text, I actually make use of Octane material. Yeah, so I use diffuse material, right? And I think the reason that is because I wanted to make sure that I composite. So you see this green thing here. So this is actually Octane object tag, and this is actually useful for when you want to do some composites in After Effects. So when I attach this tag, I can actually render out the text separately from the scene, which is really important. So I'll show you how that works when we get to After Effects. And I think that's it pretty much. And let's move on to the next scene. All right, so this is the third scene. And as you can see, this is what I have here. So let's quickly break this down. So I think you have an idea of how I get to do the text, which is just simple extrude. So let me just quickly solo this. There's just simple extrude text, and of course with the plane, and that's basically all I did. I just arranged them there. You can see the text inside the extrude object. So that's it for the text. Then the barbed wire, which is quite interesting. So if you look at this is actually a cylinder, a really tiny cylinder. Let me uncheck this, and you can see it is actually splined around, like it's practically looking like a wire, and that's because I use an effector, which is a spline wrap, and I also use twist. So if I uncheck this, can you see that it's just a so let me uncheck all of this. These are instances just duplicate, right? So this is the cylinder. As you can see here, this is the cylinder. If I uncheck the spline wrap, so practically I just use this spline wrap, and I use this spline here for it to wrap around. Normally you would see the spline wrap right underneath inside the cylinder, but because they're all in null, that's why I can actually do this, and it works pretty well. Then if I do the twist, can you see it's twisted a little bit, but not so much, and then instances are just duplicates of it. So I duplicated it 3 times, and if you check the coordinates of the duplicated instance, you can see that the coordinate of this is different from the one that is here, and then it's different from this, different from this. So I just shifted it a little bit, so that's why you can see all 3 all together, and that's practically how I get to achieve the wire. Then for the curbs on the wire, so this is it. I just put in the cloner, and of course I went to object, then actually put objects as my what is going to work with basically, and I use spline. Practically all I did was to animate the end to the start so that it will go along with the spline, because I actually animated the spline wrap too as well. So they are all animated. The end is animated here, and then the end of this particular cloner is also animated here. And if I combine all of this together, this is what we would have. So let me just uncheck everything. Not camera controls. Let me just uncheck this, right? So uncheck, let's say this as well. So this is one we are focusing on. So combining everything will give us this, right? So I just animated the spline wrap with the cloner as well, the end frame of the curb. So that's practically how I get to do that. For the curb, I didn't really exactly model it. I just saw it online and I brought it in. But I guess that it should be quite simple to create, but I didn't get to do that myself, so I might not be showing you that. And practically that's all I did. And then of course the floor, the text, the same kind of material. The only material that is kind of different is what I have on the text. What I practically did was to have some dots, a little bit of some noise shading kind of thing. So here is the last scene, right? As you can see, the camera panning from the bottom to the top, and if I uncheck the camera, quite a simple setup, just the plane on the floor, and then the floor shading thing that I did, which I've showed you for the very first scene, and that's practically all I did. Let me just drag this up, and this is the plain floor, and then now I have the mountains. The mountains are just landscape, different kind of landscape, which I've arranged based on my scene. You can see the position of the camera as well. Then I also have a sphere that I also put into this scene. You can see it's very far away, and that sphere is actually the sun, and I'll open up Octane very soon for you to see that. Then I also have a cube. So by zooming to this, I have this small thing ingrained on the floor, right? It's just a simple cube that I have here, and then I also have my text. Just like I showed in the first scene, I put a null there for my text so that I can be able to, extract that information in After Effects and be able to do my compositing there. Practically, that's all I did here, right? Let me open the Octane so you see how this sun, how it looks like. Okay, so this is the Octane, right? Of course, you can see how this looks so awesome. Some of the materials that I used for the floor is just diffuse. They're all majorly diffuse materials, honestly. Nothing much, nothing serious to that. I think for the floor, let me see. because that one actually look different. So there's a sand. I got this from Grayscale Gorilla as well. The extension, which I really advise you should get it to really save you some time to texture and all of that. So really interesting stuff. So that's why you can see that wavy stuff on the ground. But then if I go straight to my camera, not this camera, the right camera here, right, you can see how this really looks. As you can see, you can't really, this is the sun here, my own man-made sun, and you can see that it's made up of this material, and practically all I did here was to increase the emission. So if you go to the black body, increase the emission, you can see I can decrease it here. For you to see it more, I can increase it. So practically what I did, and that's why it gives me that illusion of the sun. Then what else do we have? And of course I just have the text animated in. Where is the text? Okay, the text is not actually from here. Hold on, yeah, it's actually from here, the future, yeah. So it's just simple position animation from text from behind and just come up practically. Then you also notice that this is just there, and I did the compositing in After Effects. So let's go and wrap this up in After Effects now. I have everything here now in After Effects, so I rendered them out. I also brought in the Cinema4D file itself for some of the scene, like this scene 1. So if I go straight to scene 1, if you notice I have the Cinema4D file itself here, right? It will not definitely show the way it should, but I have it. But let me quickly show you something that is going to be quite interesting for you to work really smoothly from After Effects to Cinema4D. If there's something I would like to really show you, this, it will be this. So let me just quickly show you that. I think I'll just go with this. Now I'll have to change the size to portrait, and then I'm going to bring in my Cinema4D, this particular one. Just click and drop here, and then as you can see, this is what I have. But now this is an interesting thing, right? You can go to your SceneWare. So by default, your After Effects should be able to open Cinema4D file. So by default, because I've actually set some things in Cinema4D, like the external compositing, I can actually click on extract, and if I click on extract, to extract some objects. So there are some of the things it can extract for me. So if I click on this, you can see that I already have some things, and you can see the null text that I created. You can see this where they are. So practically all I did was to just, go to rotation and then try and rotate it in a way that it should not be confusing for me. Basically, I just did this, do -90, right? So it's to face down, and I can actually make it smaller, right? So I know that this is where this belongs to. So I'll do the same thing here, -90, scale it down. If I play through this, this is what I have, right? Can you see that they are sticking to that? So I can now use this as my null, right? Even though they come in as solid, so I can always parent anything to it. So I can come here, let's say create a circle or a shape. Let me change the color to be this blue, and make sure it is 3D. And then I can now parent it. I'll hold on shift, parent it to this. And as soon as I do that, it might not be exact same position. I can always click on this and then adjust. For some weird reason, I wonder why the anchor point is just messed up, but practically this is. So this is where my shape is, and then I can now do this. So this practically how I get to just extract those information for my different scenes when I was doing all of that. So let me quickly take you back to the main scene here. So that's practically all I did. That's how I was able to have this text here. So let me go back in here, and then you can see all these things that I extracted, and I also brought in the rendered version of it as well. So this is it here. This is the rendered version of it. Then these are the things that I extracted. So look at them here. Then for the text, let me start with the for I know. So these are they actually text which I convert to shapes. I now use I just use some shapes, use pen to use my shape to rewrite the text, right? So and then overlay it with what I have here. And the reason why I have this Bezier wrap is because for some weird reason the text was not looking right. I decided to just adjust it to make it look more realistic. Like now look at the way it's looking, right? So my Bezier wrap was able to fix that. And then for the plans, you can see it is already attached to one. I think this this one, text 2. I attach this brush animation. You can see I have this simple brush animation that I've done here. Basically, it's just a texture. I just use scale animation with old keyframes and loop it. So practically what I did, overlay it here and make sure that it's revealing with the text. So with the text, I have simple text reveal here. So animator 1, just a simple text reveal. So if you go to my review, you can see that I have my range selector animated. So just simple text review, but then I make sure that it is formatted to the brush animation. So that's practically all I did here. So if you want to see more of what I did, you can get the project files, the Cinema4D, After Effects, everything will be all in there. So let's go straight to scene 2. Practically the same thing. This is actually less, so I actually have some other things that I put in here. So if I solo this text, for instance, so practically, I told you that Octane object tag can make me render stuff separately. If I check this, alright, so this was I was able to have that extracted, right? And when I did that, I was able to add some effect to it to still give me what I really wanted, right? So without this effect, let me check all of this. Without this effect, this is how it looks like. It was looking very weird, right? So, but then I extracted it, then added Gaussian blur so I can soften the edges a little bit. Then I noticed this darkening all around it. I didn't really like it, so I added matte choker. So that took that away, and also added curves, right? So that it can make the text pop up more, right? And that's practically all I did to bring this to life. Now, of course, this is just the city here, pretty simple scene, and make sure that the text is actually extracted. So I use extractor to extract the text out of it. So that's why I was able to composite it in the main comp here. And of course, I have optical flares. It's actually very subtle. For some reason, it's not showing here, but you see it in the main thing there. So yeah, that's scene 2. The same process with scene 3, right? And then yes, so you can see, so for this one, just like I did in the very first one, when we have the text, can you see the text here, the null that I have external compositing? That's what I have here. And then I was able to just parent the text, so these two texts to it, and you can see it just meshed to it. And practically that's all I did to really achieve this. And then of course I have some color adjustments, chromatic, all of that added to this to give it that really good color. And that's how I get to achieve this. So if you really want to know more about this or want to explore more, make sure you get the project files. There'll be the link in the description. If you are getting the project files, you'll be supporting my channel. So it's as little as $5, I guess. You're able to have access to this, to the Cinema4D file, to the After Effects file, and you're able to explore everything. All right, that's it from me. I really hope you do enjoy that. If you do, make sure you click on the like icon, and of course make sure you subscribe if you are new to my channel. Check out the link, check out the project file and the link in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.